Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Deadshot Duo proudly brings to you the Swordfish Alexander and the Scumbag Andy Halsey. And this is episode 74.
Wow, 2 wrestling intros in a row.
Yeah, why not?
Welcome to DC 74.
I messed up a bit on that one, but
it's all good. We're just going to roll with it.
yeah, best intro in WWE history
Probably.
is the New Age Outlaws intro.
It's got, the thing about them was when you would hear that guitar riff, it was like that instant pop from the crowd.
Yeah,
they were
oh,
over.
you didn't know?
Yeah, they were just over like Rover, and it's kind of crazy how nowadays very rarely does somebody get that over. And I feel like we almost took it for granted back in the Attitude Era. Some of those guys are just massively over to this day. Even when they did their comeback, the New Age Outlaws, like maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, and they won the tag titles and they had a little run, like they were over then too. It's amazing. Anyway, Andy, how are you doing this week?
Yeah, fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
how it
I'm
goes.
hanging in there. It's been an interesting few weeks. With this whole social distancing thing, I feel like quite the shut-in. I really only leave my house to maybe go to a gas station or a grocery store.
Get that big swig still?
Yeah, the big swig's always a go-to for me. I still do enjoy those. And then I did manage to, I was shocked that it was open, but my brother-in-law was looking at a used car today at a Ford dealership, so I took a look at that car with him, tried to help him with the negotiations a little bit, and that was kind of an interesting experience because we were the only people on the lot other than people who worked there. There wasn't a single person on the lot the entire time I was there. Nobody came. I mean, but then again, I was like, and I used this in the negotiations. I was telling the guy, I was like, you guys could do a little bit better on the price because honestly, nobody's buying cars right now. Like the auto industry is in the toilet.
I mean, what else are you going to do with your stimulus package?
Well, they do kind of bank on tax season, and I think the stimulus package will assist in that as well. But I will tell you, as somebody who owns many, many shares of Ford stock, and I was buying in at a price of about $9. Their stock has tumbled to about $5. I think it's like about $5.14 right now, if I had to take a guess. And I ended up just doubling down. I ended up buying.
That's the only thing to do.
Yeah, I ended up basically tripling my shares because I made some money on another stock, so I sold out on that. Thanks, DHT Holdings.
You ever seen Woody's Gamertag's How to Get Rich in 20 Years videos?
No.
Well, he made 2 videos like 10 years ago called How to Get Rich in 20 Years. And he made an update about it's about stocks. And it's basically like invest a certain amount of money each month in the stock market. Yeah. And he made a video like a week ago proving that if you continue doing that method through the current stock market, you actually end up with more money in the long run than...
No, I agree with you. I mean, one thing that I've done pretty consistently over the last year or so is I put at least $300 a month into the stock market. And then when I sell, like, so for example, I had several hundred shares of a company called DHT Holdings. They're an amazing company. Their balance sheet is great. I love them. I mean, they were a great stock. They pay out a dividend every quarter. But I bought in a bunch of shares at about $5 as a target price, and I ended up selling a lot of those shares for almost $8. So I made about $350 on DHT. Now, some people would take that $350, take it out, spend some money on something. I ended up taking that $350 plus all the equity that I already had and rolling it into Ford stock because I think that will recover, and brought my average share price down to about $6. And I think that the fair market evaluation of Ford right now is about 12, I think 11 on a bad day. So if they can recover, I'll in effect, come close to doubling my money. And then from there you would sell and then you buy into something else. And, it is something that you can make a lot of money on. And a lot of people I've heard, especially millennials, are putting a lot of money into the stock market now, especially with the market kind of at a low. instead of heavily investing into a 401k, which, I mean, if you know anything about 401ks, which I'm sure you do, is really just them kind of
Yeah.
managing your money on the stock market for you. But anyway, enough about that. This isn't financial talk with Al.
You got a Roth
So
IRA?
no, I don't have a Roth IRA right now. I don't really have a need for one, but they are pretty good. They're really good for not getting burned on capital gains.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who like Ashley kind of lived in the financial world for a while for one of her jobs, and a lot of people use Roth IRAs when they cash out a pension plan and don't need the money right away. It's a great way to have your money in something that's accumulating and you don't have to pay a capital gains tax on it, if I'm not mistaken.
You do when you go into it. You don't want to take it out.
Yeah.
So you pay the tax for like right from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good way if you don't need the money right now. A
Yeah,
Roth
it's only
IRA is
effective
a
if you're like
pretty
if you want the money in 40 years.
yeah. It's so. I mean, I go into a 401k. I have that, and I always tell young people do a 401k as far as your employer will match it because it's basically free money, especially if it vests, depending on the time period for vesting. But then stock market and land, if I had more money, if I had more capital, I'd be investing my money in land because they're not making any more land. It's a
Yeah.
finite resource, and therefore, you can make quite a bit of money on it. But I don't like. I started my entire investment portfolio, which is now several $1,000s. I started it with $20. I mean, it's amazing how easy it is to get into the stock market now than it was maybe in the 90s where you actually had to, go sit down at like a Charles Schwab or something. So yeah, that's my investment tips from
Now you
Al.
just invest in penny stocks. Nothing will go wrong with that.
It's funny you bring that up because penny stocks, it's high risk, high reward. And sometimes you can find a diamond in the rough. Like, so a really good example right now that I like, it's a company that I'm heavily invested in, and it's definitely a buy and hold proposition, is a company called Palatine Technologies. Their stock ticker is PTN. And they're a company that has no debt. They have about $80 million in cash in the bank, and they have that money in accounts, that money market style accounts, basically, where it's making money for them, and they're using some of it for their operating expenses, but they have no debt. They have a couple drugs out on the market right now, and they do peptide based pharmaceuticals. And as a biotech company, I feel like they're very undervalued. Currently their stock is trading at less than the cash value of the company. So, what I mean by that is if they were to cash out everything tomorrow and cease operations, they would have more money than all their shares combined in terms of the cash value. So, penny stocks, they can be rewarding. In fact, I actually have a friend who made a couple $100 off of a penny stock. So, I mean, and of course, he only invested about 100, but he made like two or three. So it's pretty good for him.
What have you been watching / playing?
Oh, well, getting into that. Sorry about all the financial talk, everybody. If you hate that, I apologize. So this week I have been watching American Dad, and I watched the Film Club selection, and a lot of YouTube, and the new Netflix thing that everybody's talking about, Tiger King. I've been watching that
That's
with my wife.
awful.
It's fascinating to me. I actually found it pretty interesting. I'm not all the way through it yet, so please no
I've
spoilers
seen
if
two
you.
episodes, so
Oh, okay. Well,
I think it's pretty bad.
I think I'm about four in. I think it's pretty fascinating. Also, another one that I watched this week was the Chris Benoit documentary that Vice
Oh
put
yeah.
out, the two-part series, and I have to say they did amazing on it. Like, they got all the right people in the interviews, and they really gave you a full story as far as what really happened. And I think that they gave it for a tragedy. I feel like they gave it great treatment, and I'm actually looking forward to their Owen Hart one
Yeah.
because
They
I
did
feel
one
like
on
they
Bruiser Brody.
yeah I need to go back and watch the old ones. They really they they frame it up well, and they treat the wrestling business with the respect that I think it deserves. And my original fear was that they were going to kind of make, like a lot of documentaries, make the wrestling business look like a bunch of carny sideshows where people just don't care and all that. And we know that that's really just not the case. Anyway, and then playing this week, World of Warcraft, Animal Crossing, a little bit of One Punch Man, and that's about it. I can't really think of anything else that I played. My brother gave me a copy of Minecraft for free, so I need to boot that up. But thanks, Randy, for that free Minecraft. Anyway, what have you been watching playing this? Probably one of the most profitable if you want to go off of that. So anyways, Andy, what have you been watching playing this week?
A wrestling documentary called Making Maxwell Jacob Friedman, a real documentary. It's on YouTube. You should check it out. It's a guy in AEW. He's 23. He's great. He's probably one of the best heels in the past like decade in all of wrestling.
I'm aware of him, and he is very good.
And then it's a kayfabe documentary, so he's in character the entire time.
That's kind of cool. I like that. I will have to check that out.
And then I watched A Trip to the Moon, The Great Train Robbery, A Trip Through New York, some just old movies from a really long time ago. Then I watched The Green Mile, Tom Segura's stand-up special Ball Hog. I watched Reanimator, rest in peace. Stuart Gordon passed away this week, made Reanimator and From Beyond. And then I watched Stop Making Sense, The Host, American Beauty, It Comes at Night, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and WrestleMania 15.
WrestleMania 15. I don't remember any of the matches on that card, but
Pete Rose gets power dried by Kane. And Pete Rose is in the chicken suit.
Yeah, fun story about Pete Rose. He would always ask to get paid in cash by WWE and he'd go gamble it. What a guy.
Yeah, great guy. Should be in the Hall of Fame.
The Baseball Hall of Fame or the WWE Hall of Fame?
Both. I'm pretty sure he is in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I think he is, and I think he should be because he's been a part of a lot of great moments in WWE. And I mean, we can all talk about Pete Rose's character. I think we all can agree that he's probably not the best guy in the world.
Inducted 2004.
Yeah, but as far as being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think it's time. I think it's time to let the guy back in. And, especially when you look at what the Astros did this year, I do think that it's time to let Pete Rose back in. It's also time to let Barry Bonds back in.
Back in?
And I don't even... Well, he's blackballed.
Yeah, but, he's never been in the Hall of Fame. You make it sound like he was.
Well, when I say back in, I mean back into the world of baseball.
Yeah.
Back into, I feel like he's almost shadow banned, right? Pete Rose is banned for life officially. I feel like Barry Bonds is shadow banned. And I truly believe that they colluded against him when he was a free agent. I really think that he could have DH'd for a few years in the American League. And when he came back, nobody would sign him. He couldn't get anybody to even meet with him. So I feel like they definitely colluded, and I think they kind of shadow banned him in the world of baseball. And I think it's a shame because Barry Bonds is he is the GOAT. I don't like Barry Bonds. I think he's a really scummy guy, but he's the best baseball player to ever play the game in terms of individual contribution alone. And we all know that baseball is an individual sport under the guise of a team sport. I mean, like when you go up to bat, it's just you swinging the bat, right? So, he is the best baseball player of all time. I think the only one that could have been better would have been Griffey if he had not suffered through all the injuries. But I don't know. Anyway, that's my baseball rant. So we're kind of winging it today. I don't have any
random topics.
Okay, well, we don't have any listener questions, so I did double check. We did not have any listener questions to the best of my knowledge. So if I missed your listener question, I apologize. You can send me some hate email
Yeah.
Alex at deadchannelduo.com.
And there's nothing really going on in the world because of the things going on in the world.
I feel like we don't have anything to talk about. There's no sports really going
Hey, I
on. I
got
think,
I got some heavy hitting topics.
everybody's staying at home watching Netflix, and I'm staying at home working, but you know, it's just such a weird time, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I just want things to go back to normal, dude. Like it really stinks. And I see like all the things happening, like the dominoes are starting to fall, like 3.3 Americans filing for unemployment this week. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy.
Alex,
Didn't mean to be a downer.
my favorite would you rather question to
Okay.
open up my random bag.
Okay.
Would you rather have 3 kids and no money or no kids and 3 money?
I'm gonna take the kids.
Oh, you're the second person to ever do that. Most people say 3 money.
Well, so I don't know, man. Like, family's everything, and money, as like, I don't come from a poor background. I don't come from an affluent background either. My mom was amazing in giving us probably the most normal middle class upbringing you could get. And I'm thankful for my mom every day for giving that to me, because I think about when I was a kid and I didn't have to worry about money. But even if we did have a lot of money, I don't think that it would mean anything if we couldn't share good things with one another. So that's why I picked the kids. I'm assuming you'd take the money.
Yeah, I'm just a question giver.
Well, which one would you do?
Just the question giver.
Oh, come on, just give us something.
3 money. It's so much money.
Yeah, I guess
3
so.
money.
Hmm. I don't know.
All right. Random. I don't know why I said that word. Favorite show that got canceled / ended early that you wish there was more of?
That's a tough one. So I want to say Aqua Teen Hunger Force, because the creators did want to keep going, and Adult Swim / Cartoon Network did not want to keep it going, even though it's remarkably cheap to produce. So just off the top of my head, it's gonna be Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but there's a few. Frasier's another one where it didn't necessarily get canceled, but the network was like, you should probably wrap it up because we don't know if we're going to renew it. And then like the third answer that I would give you, I know I'm cheating, but there's just too many to not mention it, would be
Hey, there's no rules.
the Drew Carey Show. That was another one where I felt like the show was definitely, maybe it wasn't as good as it used to be, but it was still pretty good. And I really loved that show. To this day, I still think it's really underrated as a comedy. And again, it was one of those where the network was like, you're going to get canceled, so wrap it up. And I think they managed to squeeze out one more half season, but I feel like they could have done more.
What's
your
improv
answer
show?
on that? Whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, that's a good show.
That is still the British version is outstanding, and the Drew Carey American version is also very good. Andy, what would you pick?
I Freaks and Geeks, I guess, is the cheap answer.
That's a really good choice.
That's the popular choice, though.
That's a good choice, yeah.
Or Seinfeld.
Yeah, that one's kind of weird because it's like it didn't really get canceled. They just didn't want to
Jerry
do it
just
anymore.
stopped wanting to do it. But since Seinfeld ended, you got Curb Your Enthusiasm, so I guess it's not that bad.
I get it though. I kind of understand why Jerry Seinfeld did what he did. I think that sometimes in life, especially with creative things, once you get to a point where you feel like something's a spent force, it's probably best to end it, because the worst thing you can do is like take something too far and kind of run it
Yeah,
into the ground, and it'll
that's the
like,
next question.
okay, go ahead.
No, keep on going.
So my example was going to be a show that we both love, but we both have talked about this at length. I think maybe even on the podcast too. Community.
Yeah,
Like, I love that show, but once Chevy Chase is gone, I
Donald
felt like
Glover.
it was, yeah, I feel like it went down a notch when Chevy Chase left, and then it went down another huge notch when Donald Glover left. And they tried to recover, and they made a great effort. I'm not discounting their effort, but man, those last couple seasons kind of
Yeah,
make you forget about all the crazy good early stuff.
yeah, that's the next question. But before I get to that, Drew Carey also in the WWE Hall of Fame. Fun fact.
He should be.
He
He
is.
should be.
He was
He's
inducted in
had a, yeah.
2011.
Yeah, he's had some really cool moments in WWE, and he is also he's a pretty big wrestling fan, and I like that about him.
Favorite show that lasts too long? It should have ended earlier. Was the next question, but you can't answer Community.
So yeah, community would be number one. I think that I feel like this is such a cop out answer, but The Office. I feel like they could have probably taken one season off of The Office. There was some good stuff at the end, no doubt. I'm not saying it was terrible or anything, but I do feel like you could you could end the show when Steve Carell leaves. You could also end the show when Jim and Pam get married, and I think it still would be
Yeah.
successful as a series. So those would be my answers off the top of my head. I know there's one that I just
Simpsons.
can't. Yeah, I know a lot of people kind of bag on The Simpsons. I just stopped watching it.
That 70s show.
Ooh, that's a perfect answer. You know what? That beats The Office by far. That last season of that 70s show, again, they were trying. I'm not faulting them for that, but it just wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same.
How I Met Your Mother. Literally, the last scene of How I Met Your Mother ruined the entire show for me.
So I wasn't a huge fan of How I Met Your Mother. I certainly did not see every episode, but I did see quite a few episodes throughout the series, enough to kind of
Yeah.
gather what was going on because my wife loved it.
Yeah.
And I agree, man. I think they screwed the pooch. Like, sometimes you have the golden goose and you just don't realize it, man.
Yeah. And my final answer would be SpongeBob after season 3.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Dude, see, if you look at the episodes, seasons 1 through 3, I mean, you didn't watch the show, I don't think. One
I
through
did.
three, every single episode is a classic. Past that, it's hit or miss, and then it gets
So
real bad.
I was a big fan of SpongeBob initially, and the main reason for that is the voice actor who does SpongeBob, Tom Kenny,
Yeah.
he's done a lot of voice acting work. But one thing that he did that it's, to this day, it's one of my favorite shows. I watched a few episodes of it this week, and I forgot to mention in what I've been watching this week. But Mr. Show with Bob and David, David Cross, Bob Odenkirk had a sketch comedy show, and Tom Kenny was a regular on that show. I mean, I think he was in just about every episode, and he's hilarious. I mean, he's just a hilarious guy. So when they put him in SpongeBob, I mean, obviously he has to make it more PG, if you will, but I mean, he's a great voice actor and he's still funny, and SpongeBob's funny to me. So I liked it initially, but then again, I did stop watching it eventually.
What is the worst video game sequel of all time?
Oh my goodness. It's so hard to think of one that was bad.
Sonic 04.
Uh
Okay.
no, Sonic 06 gets a lot of
Or
hate.
06, sorry.
Yeah, Sonic 06 gets a lot of hate, but I don't know if I would say it's the worst. It's definitely not the best Sonic game, but
Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Okay, so that's a good answer for most people, but I played Nuts and Bolts and loved the hell out. I actually played that game for months. Just the idea that you could build stuff was really cool to me, but it didn't feel like a banjo game. So I totally get why the fans didn't like it, but I do appreciate what they were trying to accomplish in it. So this is going to be, I know a lot of people would say Halo 5, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Crazy Frog Racer 2.
Hmm.
It's a sequel that I never thought would have been made. They made a Crazy Frog Racing PS2 and they came out with a sequel and it is just flat out broken. I would also say it's not a direct sequel, but it's a WWE game that was part of a series on Xbox. WrestleMania 21 on Xbox was completely
Oh,
broken right out of the box. And it was back then they were making WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 21, like
yeah.
so I would say that one for sure would be towards the top of the list. And then I can't think of a really bad sequel, man. I know some people would say Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm not gonna.
Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
The deep cut, probably. Super. I don't think much people remember that. Is that 4 Symphony?
Yeah, I think so. You know what? I'm gonna give I'll give an answer that's a sequel that I have always felt that it felt completely out of place, and everybody knows the story as to why it feels out of place because it wasn't really truly made to be a Mario game initially. Super
Oh,
Mario Brothers 2.
great game. Game of the year. Every year.
I to this day I've never beaten it. I owned it as a kid. I never beat it. I could never get all the way through it. I would always find myself going back and playing Mario Brothers 1. And then once 3 came out, Super Mario Brothers 2 was dead to me. So I'm going to say, yeah, that would be the one that I would say cuz it just doesn't feel like Mario.
Man. Super Mario Brothers 2. It's back. What's the best sequel of all time?
Halo 2.
Hmm.
I don't even have to think about it. Halo 2.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You wouldn't. You're probably too young for it.
I played Halo
Almost.
2. I'm not meaning that. I meant the question.
What do you mean?
I said I don't know off the top of my head the answer to the question. Not I played
Oh,
Halo 2.
did you?
Yeah.
You're like 5 when that came out.
Yeah, okay.
You played Halo 2 at 5.
I didn't play it when it was contemporary, no.
Oh, okay, okay. I got you. Okay, I got you. That's fair.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is the answer, by the way.
That's a good choice. That's a damn good choice. I like that one. That one I would put towards the top. I think Mod 2. Ooh, God, that has to be probably one of the best ever. Halo 3 is definitely up there for me too. Like I know a lot of people like I like Halo, but I just feel like 2 was so I played that game so much. I mean, put so much time into it. And so did all my friends. And I feel like it really hit that sweet spot in gaming. And then Modern Warfare 2 was definitely the same way. Like I remember Modern Warfare 1 was huge. Like it was huge and all my friends played it. But
Yeah,
when
I mean,
Modern Warfare
revolutionized
2
gaming.
came out, yeah, Modern Warfare 2 came out and it totally changed everything we knew about Call of Duty and in a good way. And I remember it just being wildly popular. And then they came out Modern Warfare 3 and everybody hated
I liked it.
it. By comparison, I bought it, I played it, I loved it. But yeah,
I mean,
Mass Effect 3 would be a really close
Mass Effect 3,
contender. Yeah, I love 3. I know a lot
everyone
of people
hates
didn't.
it.
I loved it. I
For
thought it was a beautiful end.
for how mediocre the first two games are, Saints Row 3, the third, sorry, Saints Row the third.
Oh,
The first two games are pretty mediocre, but the third game's pretty solid.
I thought you were about to tell me that Mass Effect 1 and 2 were
Mass Effect
mediocre.
1 is.
No, it isn't.
There's a reason they made that book that you can beat the game in 15 minutes.
Is it dated? Yes. Is it bad or mediocre? No. It was a really like you have to keep in mind when it was made and how ambitious it was as a series. And I just remember being blown away by it, and it just had the perfect feel for me for a game. I mean, it every once in a while you come across something in life and it really speaks to you internally. Like it really resonates. And the Mass Effect series was definitely one of them. Like I played through that game 3 times before the second one came out. I kept going back to it. You know, another one that I would put up there on my list would be Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Oh my goodness, I love that game.
Fallout New Vegas.
That's another good choice too. There's a lot of really good sequels, man.
Alex,
There's a
rank
lot of
bringing back to WWE. I'm sure everyone loves when we talk about WWE.
yeah.
Rank these three for their
Hmm.
in-ring work. Eric
Okay.
Bischoff, Vince Russo, or sorry, rank these four. Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, Paul Heyman, and Vince McMahon
So we're talking strictly
in ring.
them
Not
individually.
wrestling, but like what they did, not backstage. What they
Oh,
did
so
like
you're
when you're
basically
watching at home. Yeah.
oh, so you're basically saying out of their entire body of work that we saw with them running respective companies, how do you rank them? So I'm gonna put Vince Russo as a by and far last. I mean, he shouldn't even be in the same discussion as those other three. And I know some people like his work, but his to me wrestling is about storytelling. And Vince Russo doesn't understand basic 3-part story arcs. It's beyond him. So he just doesn't get week to week. It would just be something random. And some people find that exciting, but I just can't say that. And he takes a lot of credit for the Attitude Era. Like he said, he created Stone Cold Steve Austin. We all know that's not true. So Vince Russo's dead last. I'm going to put Paul Heyman at 3, but I hate to put Paul Heyman at 3
Even
because
ECW.
I loved ECW as a kid. I loved the work he did um, on SmackDown when he was running SmackDown in the early 2000s. I like the work that he's doing now with
Yeah.
Raw. I mean, he's really good, but I have to put him at number 3. I'm gonna put Vince at 2. And the only reason I'm going to put Vince at 2 is because I would put him at number 1 10 years ago, but right now I can't. I feel like he has totally jumped the shark creatively, and I don't think that he's in touch with his audience anymore, which is very disappointing to me. I think that Vince's aspiration is he wants to be known as a television creator, not a wrestling creator. And I think sometimes that gets in the way of what makes more sense for wrestling business.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put Eric Bischoff number 1. And, the reason I'm going to do that is I thought that Eric Bischoff's run in WCW going from the early 90s all the way up and through, I'm going to say 98, when the AOL Time Warner merger basically cut his balls off and he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do on TV anymore. That run was incredibly special to me as a kid. It meant a lot to me as a wrestling fan. I can still go back and watch those matches and, enjoy them. And the reason I'm putting him at number 1 is I think that he created and was the main creative driving force behind the greatest angle of all time, and that's the New World Order. I would say the first 2 years of the New World Order angle were so perfectly and masterfully
Not all
done.
62 guys.
In addition, well, no, not when they all expanded all, but I'm going to just say right now, the NWO invasion and then what they did with the Sting character as an extension of that. One, it saved Sting's career. He never would have had such a long career if it wasn't for that. And it also extended Hulk Hogan's career. I mean, without Hollywood Hogan, he was getting booed, being the
Yeah.
baby face for all those years.
Decades.
People got tired of it. So to be able to come up with this angle that one almost took down the WWE, led the ratings for 83 weeks on Monday nights, and it extended the careers of Hogan and Sting, and also made them bigger
Scott
stars.
Hall.
I have to put him at number one. And it's just so hard to pick between those three, by the way.
Before we get to Film Club, speaking of all wrestling stuff, this is a trivia question.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the only wrestler to have an action figure made by WWE, WCW, TNA, and ECW?
Oh. No, it can't be Bubba Ray. He didn't
It
work
is
in
not
WCW.
Bubba Ray. Definitely isn't. Great guy, though. Greatest tag team of all time. I mean, sorry. Too Cool is.
No. So stupid.
I love...
You know what? Rhino?
No.
No, Rhino wasn't in WCW. Raven?
Correct.
Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to think, because I'm trying to think in my head, who's the one guy who worked in all those companies and was big enough to have a... Oh, God, Raven. I loved Raven. I loved that gimmick.
There was
so
talks
good.
about
It never
him joining
landed
AEW, too. But he never did.
I don't think that he'd be
a manager, obviously not wrestling.
Yeah,
he's 53, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that he has anything left in the ring, but my God, he had a great in-ring career. But Raven's just so friggin' smart, dude. And he has such a great mind for the business creatively. I think he would really help AEW. If he wanted to, I don't think he'd ever work for
one, which turned out to be Brody Lee.
Yeah, if WWE, first off, WWE would never hire him. Number two, I don't think that he'd want to work for him anyway, but he could help out WWE significantly.
I mean, I think several years ago they could have worked him into the Wyatt family.
I think they could have totally done something like that, but I think like a behind the scenes role for Raven would be outstanding. I could totally he would be a great guy to have in creative meetings.
You know who's like Finley's in creative and MVP?
I like Fit Finley a lot. I think he has a terrific mind for the business. So I think he's well placed there. MVP, I didn't know that he was involved in WWE creative at all.
Yeah, he's currently part of it.
He could... I feel like he could work out pretty well there. I mean, usually the guys that are best in creative are guys that could get themselves over.
Yeah.
Right? Or had like the in-ring psychology piece. So Fit Finley never looked very good. He never had a great look, but people would watch his matches because the in-ring work was terrific and he could make things look real. And I think that he's good, from a creative standpoint there. But MVP, I mean, I'm sorry, MVP doesn't have a good look. He's not exceptional, in the ring. But he got himself over with his promos and his personality. So I feel like he would be good in creative. Good for him, though.
One last trivia. Make it a quick one. Who was Stone Cold's first professional match against?
Ooh, I don't know.
Matt Hardy.
Wow. God, those guys both had great careers. One of them's still going. So,
yeah, I mean, Stone Cold chose to end it.
I think it was time.
I mean, he was on Raw last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was time for him to kind of step away, mainly because of the neck. But
did you watch Matt Hardy versus Jericho thing?
Yeah, it was good.
It's great.
It was good. Some people didn't like it. Some people said it was a little bit too out there, but I like it. I like the Matt Hardy stuff. I know it's a little cheesy, but it's good.
It's great.
It's good.
So, DCD Film Club this week was my pick. It Comes at Night. Alex, very vocal on Twitter, did not like it, I believe.
Okay.
So, It Comes at Night, directed by Trey Edward Schultz. It is set in a apocalyptic world where there is a disease that seems to be guaranteed death if contracted. It doesn't really explain it. I'm glad it doesn't explain it. It sets a certain mood in the movie, and this disease is extremely contagious. What we think of. The movie opens on a very traumatic moment for the characters, especially for the kid, the main kid in the story, having to kill and dispose of his sick grandpa who has the disease. And that mood follows throughout the rest of the movie, basically watching the world fall apart through the traumatized eyes of this young boy. He isn't the lead character. The lead is the dad in the story, but I feel like you watch the world through his point of view. And then a man tries to break into the house, which leads them making a decision. Do you trust this person and let him join your family, or do you basically have to kill him? Because if he goes away, he's eventually going to come back. And there's pros and cons to this. Pros, he has food, livestock, companionship, extra hands to work on the house and the farm, and all that stuff. Like, for example, the dad in the story is a high school teacher, and he was a mechanic before all this stuff happened, which means he knows how to do stuff. He can fix things up. Hypothetical handyman,
Yeah.
which would be a great asset to have in this time. And then,
Definitely.
for example, he teaches Travis how to chop wood, which you would think that he would already know. His dad would have taught him, but it's kind of like his dad probably didn't know how to chop wood effectively.
Yeah.
But there's also cons letting this family join you. There's trust issues. You don't know if you can ever trust them. It also brings on the movie anxiety and paranoia to the family, and it creates that mood through music. And that mood is definitely heavily in there, and this movie doesn't explain anything to you. It doesn't hold your hand. So you feel what these characters are experiencing, and you think how they think. Like whenever Will lied to them, you yourself are like, oh, I don't know if he's like, I can't tell if he's telling the truth or he's lying, or how did he get here? Did those two guys that attacked us earlier, were they actually as Will? You don't know, and it puts you against Will. And obviously you root for the main characters, you do in every single movie, and it creates a sense of paranoia and anxiety that I explained earlier. And then there's apparently a sleepwalker amongst them, the young boy Andrew. You never find out if he actually did open the door, but the door was open, and that no one knowing anything created a fracture in this trust between the two families, which leads to the climax. And this climax is extremely unsettling and shocking to me. And I think this movie is well acted. I think every character is believable, and I understand their motives. I think Joel Edgerton does an incredible job with his role. I think the cinematography is great. The score sets a mood of paranoia and anxiety. It is a part of, I've talked about before, there's eras in horror movie. It is part of the new era, the current era of horror movies, which is smart horror, like the Vivitch, Hereditary, and Under the Skin. This movie is pretty solid. 8 out of 10. Now, Alex, crap on it.
I'm not going to crap on it. I do have my issues with this film. And I did think about this film quite a bit today, just to try and prepare myself for covering it on here. So, out of the box, so first off, I can't disagree with anything that you said directly. I do think that the acting performances are all really good and believable. I do like that it doesn't hold my hand. So some of the things that are left unanswered, sometimes that bothers me in a film. In this one, it doesn't. It actually really, I think, makes it better, because those guys, the two guys that they take out in the woods,
Yeah.
they'll never know if they were with Will or not. You have to basically either trust or distrust Will. And I think that he's the character in this film that makes everything else work.
Yeah.
Because everything is based off of, do you trust this guy or not trust
You're
this
fed
guy?
you're fed knowledge through Will. Or sorry, Paul.
Exactly.
Will's the bad guy. Or the other guy,
Yeah.
Paul.
So yeah, he totally just like makes it's just really the driving force throughout. And it's just really well written. I guess is what I would say about the entirety of this film. Like it's really well written. I do wish we would have gotten a little bit more explanation as far as what the disease is. Like, can anybody recover from it?
Yeah.
Like what's going on in the outside world? But again, I think that not knowing that makes it even scarier. So it's really well done from a horror perspective. I do think that it accomplishes what it sets out to do in terms of just being that very unsettling brand of horror. My only criticism of this, and it's just a pet peeve of mine, is when you get to the end and nothing means anything, if that makes sense. Nothing got accomplished. There's no gratification, if you will. Like they basically I mean, spoiler alert, go watch this, it's worth watching.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix, so I mean, you probably already have a Netflix subscription, or you could create a burner account and do a trial or whatever. But like everybody dies at the end, and I just hate that,
Not everybody. Dad and mom are still alive.
They're going to die.
You don't know. It doesn't tell you.
They're very clearly infected at the end of the movie.
I don't know. I've seen the movie twice. I didn't get that. I felt that they're extremely depressed because they had to kill their son.
No, I mean, the vibe that I got is when they basically opted to get themselves infected, because at the end they're interacting with their son with no protective stuff on, and I went back and I paused it at the end, and you can see they did like some very slight makeup effects from what I could see.
Yeah.
Where it looked like they were infected. So like that's just my only main gripe with the film, is when I got done with it, I was like, well, nothing got accomplished, nothing's resolved, everybody dies, and it's just really depressing. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I said, well, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's how I'm supposed to feel. Maybe that is the one way they could accomplish things being very unsettling. And like then I thought about it even more, and I said, I think it's the only ending that makes sense, and the reason I say that is because everything gets wildly out of control at one point in the film. When they find out the little kid, Will's son,
Andrew,
is sick. Yeah, once they find out Andrew's sick, everything hits the fan. I mean, everything goes crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Will pulls a gun, and then they kick him out, and then they shoot Will and they kill him, and then he shoots the father, shoots Andrew,
Yeah.
and then kills them all. Yeah, well, what was he trying to hit?
A collat.
Nah, dude. I mean, I'm sorry. Like when that happened, it's like,
well, like mom was running with the kid in her arms, so I don't think he was specifically. I mean, he's aiming for them, obviously, but I don't think he was specifically aiming for Andrew.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna say, man. Like when that happened, I was like, wow, they really made me. Like you feel it. You feel the panic.
Yeah.
You feel the regret once he actually does it. You can feel the remorse, and then like actually shooting the lady, basically realizing I might as well put her out of my misery. I've already gone this far. And then the son sees it. I mean, it's so well done. So my gripe about the ending is probably an unfounded one upon further reflection, but I don't know. I just wish that we knew more about what really happened. But the cinematography is great. The score is great. Editing's really well done. The acting performances were great, written pretty well. I would tell people go out there and check it out. It's really good, and I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
Surprise.
7 out of 10. Yeah, I mean,
To
go
watch the
watch it.
trailer?
Good. No, I forgot to go back and do that.
So the trailer and the title, It Comes at Night. The trailer makes you think that there's a monster outside that attacks you at night. And it's supposed to be like a jump scary horror movie.
Ew.
That's what the trailers make it seem like.
And there's nothing like that.
I mean, there's a jump scare in the very beginning of the movie, but
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just they never really like
imagine going into a movie expecting a Insidious, Conjuring, and getting a Hereditary under the skin. And those Insidious, Conjuring inherently invite normies, or for example people like your mom, that don't want to see challenging movies.
Well, I wouldn't say that about my mom.
I'm not calling out your mom. I'm just saying.
I feel like you kind of are low key, but
you've used that as in past reference her as someone who doesn't watch movies all the time.
No, yeah. I mean, from that perspective, you're absolutely right. I mean, she just doesn't watch that many films. I mean, I just never have known her to. But now knowing my luck, she'll listen to the podcast. She'll be like, I watch films all the time. I just don't tell you about it. I don't know. I think this is a pretty digestible movie, though. I wouldn't say that it's something that's like really challenging to grasp or whatever. And I think maybe I wouldn't recommend people watching it right now, given current events. But I really like it. I think it's definitely worth checking out.
After you watch the movie, there is a 50-minute long podcast called World Class Bull. Not gonna say the last word because I have to bleep it in post.
Yeah.
And the title is "It Comes at Night is the worst movie ever." Ever.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
And in this review, they say, quote, "Suicide Squad is better than It Comes at Night."
Okay, whatever. I like Suicide Squad. Please don't get me wrong. I thought it was good. I don't know if I'd say it was great, but I thought it was good.
They say like pretty much every superhero movie ever is better than. I mean, the title is inherently they think it's the worst movie ever made. So.
Nah, it's just I don't know, man. I just don't think that
fun review to just listen to.
I'll have to listen to it. That does sound fascinating to me. I have no idea how somebody could make that This isn't even the worst thing that we've covered on Film Club.
Yeah, that's it.
Not even saying that it's bad, but I'm just saying like it.
I'm genuinely surprised based on your tweet. I was expecting to come in here and get a yogurt review.
No, it's definitely not a yogurt review. I feel like this doesn't. So what I like about this that I don't like about the yogurt films is I feel like this doesn't try to be pretentious. This doesn't try to be something that it's not. It doesn't try to like have hidden meanings or anything. It's really just good. It reminds me a little bit of Hereditary in the way, obviously Hereditary has that shocking conclusion. The last maybe 15 minutes of the film just like blow you away with like everything hits this crescendo. But I feel like this, it perfectly nails that like unsettling horror thing. You know, and Hereditary does that really well too. Like the scene where the girl gets her head decapitated, you don't even really see it fully happen, but it scars you. Like it's a great moment. Like it evokes emotion and it's done well. So yeah, man, it's good. Check it out. Like if you haven't, especially since it's on Netflix and you could if you have a Netflix subscription and it's only an hour and a half long, so you can get through it real quick.
It's an hour and 31 minutes to be exact.
Okay,
Gosh.
actually.
I would only know that because I'm currently looking at the movies
Yeah.
letterboxd.
Yeah. So it's good. Check it out. So next week it's my pick.
Hmm.
And next week, this is something that I wanted to cover while it was in theaters, but then when we talked about it
Oh,
logistically,
yeah.
Andy and I kind of came to the conclusion that it probably wasn't a good idea to cover something while I was in theaters, just because, like not everybody can necessarily go check it out. But right now, this is out and available all over the place. You might have to pay for
Yeah,
it
it's on
or,
VOD. You have to pay for it.
yeah, but I really want to cover this because I'm very excited about it and I haven't watched it yet. And I saved myself from watching it just for this. And several people requested that I pick it. And that's 1917. It came out in 2019 and it
Directed by Sam
covers,
Mendes.
yeah, and it's a rare war film because it covers World War One, which so many very few films cover it. Video games have never been made
Oh,
about
Quiet
World
on the
War One,
Western Front.
really. Yeah, there's some good
Old
ones out
movie
there, but
though.
we get so like I know
Wings.
World War Two. I think because of things like they had you
Yeah,
have
World War II
Churchill,
is
you
way more
have
popular than World War One.
FDR, you have Hitler, you have Mussolini. You have all these major players that really I think translate well to media.
You don't think
Whereas with
Archduke
World War One,
Franz
you don't have that.
Ferdinand?
Hey, I mean, look up the story of how he got assassinated. It's pretty
Look, no,
dark. Anyway,
look up. It's hours long, but Dan Carlin's World War One series, the documentary series, Hardcore History,
yeah.
great podcast. But he has, I think it's 5 episodes covering World War One. Each episode's like 3 hours long, and he goes super in detail. It's great.
There's a lot to cover on World War One, and
The first,
I,
like, I think
I
3 episodes out of the 5 are covering the first, I think, 2 months. He talks 9 hours about the first 2 months of World War One.
there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot that I think we should have learned as a race. The human race should have learned a lot from World War One, but we didn't.
Yeah,
Then again, I guess you could say we should have learned a lot from the Crusades, and we didn't. But
we should learn a
here
lot
we
from a
are.
lot of things.
We really
We should
should.
learn a lot from what's currently going on, will we?
Um, I'd like to think that we will.
The outcome, I think people are just going to wash their hands more.
Yeah. You know what? I'm probably just gonna keep my thoughts to myself. I have some thoughts, but they're probably not very popular ones. I do think that when this is all said and done, I do think the international community does need to hold the country responsible for this should be held accountable on some level. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not an international world leader and never will be, but I will tell you this much: if the United States was responsible for something like this, you better believe the international community would be coming down hard on us in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. And I think that it does need to happen because we can't allow one country to be reckless and potentially allow for it to affect a global economy that impacts billions of people. I mean, the effects here in just the US are one thing, but then when you look at what it's doing to Europe
Spain, Italy.
and now India, it's really concerning to me. And, I don't know if there's any magic bullet, so to speak, to use a business term, but, I do think that holding countries accountable for their misdeeds is something that absolutely 100% should be happening. So, but knowing the way the world works, nobody will hold anybody accountable other than current president, who gets probably a little bit too much blame, in my opinion.
To go
Nobody
back,
could have seen this coming.
go back to Film Club.
Sorry.
Interesting pick because I watched American Beauty this week. Same director,
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Sam Mendes. Also
I don't know
directed
much about Sam
my
Mendes.
favorite James Bond movie, Skyfall.
Ooh, yeah, there were some really good shots in Skyfall. That's the one thing that
Yeah,
always just
he
kind
it
of
was shot by Roger Deakins, legendary
yeah.
cinematographer. He also
There were
shot
some
1917. Fun
shots.
fact.
Oh, well, then there you go. I mean, there are just some shots in Skyfall that I feel like are unforgettable.
Yeah.
They're just that good, and it
Roger
kind of
Deakins'
puts
filmography: Blade Runner 2049, the most beautiful movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
yeah.
1917, No Country for Old Men, Shawshank Redemption, Big Lebowski, Fargo, Prisoners,
Ooh,
Sicario, Skyfall, True Grit, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, A Beautiful Mind. Like he's pretty solid.
yeah.
Countless
That's a
others.
really good
He
resume.
there was like he was nominated 14 times for best cinematography before he actually won it at the Oscars. And he won it for Blade Runner.
I feel like there's just politics involved. Like, and when I say politics, I mean just like interpersonal
Yeah, I
relationships
knew a
involved with the
guy that
Academy Awards all the time, you know?
I used to work with an actor that he only lived here in good old Kentucky because his wife, but he used to be an actor, and he's like, yeah, my friend does the voting, and he's like, there's people that are just like, you just have to give, like, they're like, I like this movie better, but I'm not going to give it the vote just because this has the bigger name.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely some of that involved. I could totally see that. So, I feel completely out of place right now because I usually have a timer, from
Yep.
doing a recording, and I have no idea what our
Well, I'm going to end you with one last question. I'm not going to tell you the timer.
Oh, okay. Great.
One last random bag question.
Okay.
Um, if you could go back and not pick a movie for DCD Film Club, would you, and which one?
Ooh. Huh. I feel like I need the full list.
I can, if you go to Dead Channel Duo on Letterbox, there is a list that says Alex's picks and has all of them there.
Well, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Your
Like,
picks
there's
are Road Trip, Freddy Got Fingered, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Midnight Cowboy, Alien, Dread, Another Earth, The Prestige, The Frighteners, Fight Club, Punch Drunk Love, Stranger Than Fiction, The Last Exorcism, Apocalypse Now, Thanksgiving, Krampus, American History X, Bull Durham, The Butler, Alita, Battle Angel, and 1917 now.
so I'm actually going to say I would not pick, if I could go back, I would have picked something else. Another Earth. And the reason I'm going to say that is I felt so powerfully and still do that Another Earth is a brilliant film. And Andy just took a big steamy dump all over it. And then people in the comments and people that I talked to throughout the week were like, yeah, I just don't see it, Al. And it made me feel crazy.
I only give it a 3 out
Like,
of 10.
okay, but I swear, if you watched Another Earth and you're listening to this podcast now, right, and you liked it, please send me a DM on Twitter or an email or something just to confirm my own psychosis, if you will,
Sphinx,
because I know he didn't. Nobody liked it. Everybody that I talked to who watches and like gives me feedback on the show, they all were like the most I got out of anyone was somebody said I think that was okay. And I'm like, this thing's brilliant. It's a
yeah.
brilliant film. But maybe I'm the only one who sees it. And I went like it drove me nuts. I went online and I was like looking up like Rotten Tomatoes reviews, and like most of those are negative. And then I went on like some website where they had fan theories about what happened, and I'm noticing like all those people didn't like it either. I'm like, what is wrong with me? So it drove me nuts. What would you pick, or would you just
Oh.
stick with all your
Pretentious me. I don't pick bad picks. I'm kidding.
that was great.
I mean, according to fans, I love everything I pick, and I've never regretted it.
Um, I mean, here's the thing about your picks on DC Film Club, as someone who does their own picks too. Like, I don't think any of us pick something knowing that the other person's gonna
Um,
dislike it, or like you generally pick stuff that you like
I
or found
pick things that I
interesting.
want to talk about,
See, that's the other thing. Like, so there's some stuff that I've
like
picked
SpongeBob
that
movie.
like
Like I exclusively wanted to. I thought it'd be an interesting conversation.
exactly, or like Freddy Got Fingered is a really good example for me where I know it's not a great film, but I thought we got great discussion out of it, so I picked for that reason. But
I'd probably
yeah,
say Trick or Treat or Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game, I would agree with you,
Super old school pick.
but Trick or Treat was definitely a treat for me, and I loved it.
I'm just saying,
I
like,
loved it.
out of all of mine, those are probably the least favorite out of them.
Yeah.
Like Fantastic Planet, I didn't really enjoy it that much, but like, I
I
low
thought we
key,
got great discussion out of that one though.
I low key like, I don't know, I want to go back and revisit it. Maybe watch the dubbed version instead.
Yeah, so yeah, that might be different.
Um, Trying to see my lowest. I have a ranking of all the picks on my letterboxed. Trying to see my worst. My worst ranked one is The Eyes of My Mother, I think.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed
Whew.
that. I don't know. I still like it's such like a average movie, but I'm still like it's. I think out of everything we've ever picked, it's on like the must watch portion.
It really creeped me out. It did its job.
Very unsettling.
Oh God, it just I couldn't watch it. There were certain points where I was like, I just want it to be, because I'm not good with blood and gore. I'm just terrible with
Yeah.
it. And like it just I mean, I haven't felt that bad about something. It's way worse, but it's the last time I felt that way about something. But Human Centipede 2, like I
Is that the
rented
baby
it.
one?
Oh my good, yes. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness. I rented Human Centipede 2 because I love the first one, and I think that the first one is just a tremendous
Well,
horror
the
film.
second one in story, the guy loves the first one so much that he does.
Exactly. But it was like way more gross out type horror.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what they were going for. Like they made that really clear. But my idiot self rented this thing and I said, I have to watch it since I paid for it.
Yeah.
And otherwise I would have turned it off halfway through. I just couldn't
That's
stand
how
it
like the
anymore.
Saw franchise is. Like the first one's incredible,
It
and
is.
then the rest of them they take it way too far. Did you ever watch the third
Yeah.
one?
No. Well, probably, but I don't really
Human
remember
Centipede,
much of it.
not Saw.
Oh, no. I never checked out the third one. It looked really good, but I just never followed up on.
Yeah, Saw's up to 9 now. They're making a new one.
That's crazy. I didn't know that they were up. I saw a code where you could like buy
You
all the
lagged, but
for some. Oh, I'm sorry. So I saw on Vudu there was some collection that you could buy with all of the
I
Saw
think they're
movies, but I didn't.
interesting. I think the first one, as I said, is incredible. I think it's a horror masterpiece.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think the sequels are interesting. Like unlike the Hellraiser series, where the sequels are unbearable and are just hard to watch.
Hmm.
You can at least get through the Saw ones, and it creates like a weird like. There's apparently like the Book of Saw, and it's like how the entire franchise was based off this book, and how everything was like pre-written, like how Breaking Bad is. But if you
Okay.
watch the movie, it definitely wasn't, and they're just adding stuff, and it's so convoluted. Even like Saw experts don't really understand the timeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now that's it for episode 73.
All right. Well, as always, t-shirt link in the description, and if you buy one of those, we get, I think, $5 or $6. I have to check. I know one of them sold recently, and I think we got $4 for it. So, yeah, check out t-shirts. Andy's wearing one, and we did send out t-shirts to our Patreon backers this week. So, That is a really good segue into our Patreon. You can support the podcast for as little as $1 a month. You get early access. You get increased audio quality when you listen to it through Patreon, and all kinds of other great perks for as little as $1 a month. I want to thank our current backers. Got Dumbest Sphinx in the egg tier. We have Bobby in the Andy tier, and Daniel and Jared in the gold tier. Thank you. You guys are literally the reason we're able to do podcast hosting. So thank you for that. And if you can't support us monetarily, a few things you could do that are absolutely free. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can leave us a review on iTunes. That helps more people find the show. And you tell a friend. Be like, hey, this DCD show is pretty good. Check it out. These guys talk about really nothing this week because there's a virus going around, and nothing's going on. So that's pretty much it. So Andy, anything else before we get out of here?
I'm about to pass movie number 1000 on my letterbox this week, probably.
Well, look at you, man.
Which is hypothetically almost every movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Every once in a while I find 2 or 3 that I missed the log, but it's pretty much every movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
I just always forget to like actually put my rank in there, rating. So, but yeah, I'm working on it. I'll get there one day.
It sometimes takes me on the movie though. Sometimes like movies aren't immersive. Generally, those are the ones that I don't give high reviews.
Yeah.
Where sometimes in a movie where it's like, if it's like a, let's say hypothetically, Another Earth, in the middle of watching it, I'll be like, oh, this is like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, well.
And then like, I don't know, it kind of ruins bad movies. That's, but it kind of, but I love it. I don't know. I'm addicted to Letterboxd. I'm on there all the time.
It's a really cool app. And I would encourage people to go out there, download it, and check it out.
Yeah,
it helped me find some stuff that I didn't really even know about.
Hey, if you need anything to watch, I have a watch list of 7,000 movies. Go on there and pick something out.
There you go, man. Well, so yeah, that's it for DCD 74. Thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you next week.
Ta-ta.